putting a deadline around making a deal happen in 30 days or less, I think puts you in a vulnerable position to make a bad decision. I would much rather you say, if this is your first deal, say, let's find a deal in the next year. In 30 days or less, you start to get desperate, you start to do things. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't find one in 30 days or less, but it means you're more apt to make a poor decision if you're rushing it. So I realize there's reasons why you'd want to find a deal really fast. If this is your first year, I would say, hey, let's find one in a year or less, or 6 months or less, so that we have plenty of time to make plenty of offers, because this deal that you're going to be purchasing is a really important deal, whether you're using this as a rental property or you're using this as a fix and flip. Yes, it can be done much, much sooner, and there's lots of things that can be done, and I'll be showing you a software that we work on that will help you do this as well. So first thing is just expectations. I wouldn't say 30 days. Let's run over here. Okay, so this is our next deal blueprint, which basically there's an advanced and there's a basic option here. This goes, how much money can you invest into marketing? How much money can you invest each month? What type of deal are you wholesaling? Are you retailing? What's your experience level? How many weeks until you want to get a deal happening? I mean, you could say 4 weeks on here for sure. How many deals you want to do within this time period? When am I starting? Maybe I need to do 12. Okay, so this is on a 3-month time period. So this gives you a breakdown of how much you're going to spend to get a deal, what that cost is going to be, average profit per deal, and your return on investments. So if you come here to the weekly details, it's going to tell you weekly what you need to do in order to make that happen. So you're going to have to get 63 postcards, 40 driving for dollars. You're going to do list A. This is kind of your responses. And then you'll save that, and then the same thing the next week. This is our driving for dollars, which we've got our app on the driving for dollars that you can be using to do that. We have a training on that as well. And then this is basically sending out your postcards. So the whole concept with all of this in trying to find a deal is you have to reverse engineer it. So if you're going to do one deal, if you're going to buy it, okay, you're going to have to make so many offers. Okay, so maybe you need to make 5 offers, which means you're going to have to walk so many properties. Well, maybe you need to walk 10 properties to make 5 offers, and make 5 offers to get 1. And then you're going to have to have so many conversations. Talk to so many people. Maybe you need to talk to 50 people to walk 10 to make 5 to get 1, right? So that means you're going to have to get so many opportunities. So maybe you have to get 500 opportunities to have 50 conversations to walk 10 to get 5 offers to buy 1 deal. So the question is, how are you going to get these opportunities? Well, there's several ways that you can do that. You can use our finding software and go after people that have money and motivation. You can also contact them. So the difference here is you can do on-market or off-market properties, okay? On-market properties are ones that are listed with the MLS. Off-market, or an agent, I should say, these are not listed. With these, we're typically looking for money and we're looking for motivation. So our software is going to help you with that, okay? There we go. So I can come here to Atlanta, Georgia, and I can use any of these filters. One of these filters that I can use is tired landlords. I can also come in here and say, I want tired landlords that are currently active on the MLS. So there's 862 tired landlords currently active on the MLS. Then I'm going to come down here and say, you know what, I really only want to invest in properties that are less than $400,000, let's say. Whoops, 400,000. And I really don't want stuff that's under 100,000. I just want to be in better neighborhoods and some of those types of things. Well, you can see that cut it's from 800 to 400 properties, just right there. And then I also want to make sure they've got equity. So the minimum amount of equity I want to make sure is 30%. Maybe I even say I want to make sure there's 50% equity in these, and that took me down to 386 of these properties. I may even want to say, hey, ownership. I want somebody that's owned it for at least 10 years. Or I could even say 20 years. Okay, so here's 78 properties. that have 50% or more of equity, that are tired landlords, that I can go and get in touch with these guys. So how do I get in touch with these guys? Well, I can come here and get all the details. This is the mailing address and everything else. So I can do a skip trace and get their phone numbers and their email addresses, like for any of these people going through that process. I can start a campaign and I can do emails, or I can send postcards to them. Now, to send postcards, I don't have to skip trace. I already know this shows me the tax records. Just come back here to my search. This tells me where this is where the property tax notice is being sent, is this address, not to this address. Okay, so this address is the property. This address is where their mailing goes to. So I can send a postcard to them just with the cost of the postcard. I can come in here, I can start a campaign, I can send a postcard, I can do one of my investor postcards, select, go here, and I can hit a button and off we go. It will just send it out. Okay, it has all my personalized information on there. The other thing I can do is I can come here and skip trace, and with that skip trace, I can then get an email address, and then I can come here and do an email campaign, create a website, all with the click of a button. The other thing that I can do then is I can make phone calls to those. Okay, so that's this all on market properties, or excuse me, these are listed on the MLS. So I'm pretending like these aren't listed properties that we went through here. That's how this marketing is what I would do for not listed properties. Postcards, emails, text messages, phone calls are for properties that are not listed. Now, the search that we did here, that are properties that actually are listed, the best thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to call the agent that has the property listed. So I can come here, buyer, seller, recorded date, and I can come to MLS details, and I can come down. This is the agent. Okay, so I can call the agent and say, I am interested in your property on 795 Hammond Drive. Wondering what your sellers are thinking. I know it's been on the market a while. You know, those types of things. Are they open to offers? I can come here and look at mortgage history. Looks like they took a loan out in 2001. Average interest rate was 7%. We think they owe about $62,000 on the property. And it looks like they probably bought it for 187. Let's see, what year is that in? Yes, this is when they became the owner. That's the amount. So $62,000. They pay about $1,000 a month if that interest rate is 7%. And we think there's some potential for foreclosure factor in that area with some of this intelligence. So that's how I could do that. And then I can go directly to the agents and I can say, agents, I'm interested in this property. Is your seller interested? What can we do? How can we make a deal work? I'm an investor, and work directly with the agent. How much money are you going to need for earnest money inspections and those things once you actually find this property? So one of the things that you typically do when you make an offer is you put earnest money. Earnest money is an amount of money that you put into an escrow account, title company, real estate agent escrow, and that is security saying you're serious. This amount of money can be as little as $1 and can be as much as hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever you like to. Some agents like to see 500 to 1,000. Others may want to see 1% of the purchase price. So if it's a 300,000, they may want to see 3%. Excuse me. 1% of the 300,000 would be $3,000 as earnest money. But here's the thing you've got to realize. Earnest money is offered by the buyer. So I can make an offer and say, I'll give you $500 earnest money. And then the seller could come back and say, no, we want $3,000 earnest money. And I can counter and say, no, I'm going to do $1,500 earnest money. The idea is the stronger the earnest money, the better the offer. But that's not entirely true. I think earnest money is really only a concern when you're dealing with properties that are listed on the MLS. Okay. If you're dealing with off-market properties, I typically just do $100 or maybe $500. is typically what I do for earnest money because it's less of a concern. It's the agent that's going to be pushing for that higher earnest money. So I would say plan on $1,000 earnest money. Now, typically, depending upon your state, I just put that I'm not going to deposit the earnest money until 5 days after we go under contract. So that gives me some time so I can make a bunch of offers without having to deposit earnest money. Before, every single time I made an offer, I made an earnest money deposit every single time because I had to have the earnest money there to make that offer. And then I changed and said, you know what, I'll deposit the earnest money 3 days, 5 days after once we go under contract. So that's one of the things that I recommend doing as well. So then let's say you go under contract. What's the next thing that has to happen? Okay. Next thing that's going to happen, presumably you've already gotten your loan and you're approved and those things to pre-approved, I should say. So the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to need to do some type of desktop value the property and make sure that it's in the range of what we're thinking. You typically do that before you actually make the offer. Next thing that you're going to do is you're going to look at the rehab costs and scope and get determination about how much that's going to be. Sometimes you may need to get a general contractor out there that knows more than you that you actually pay and say, hey, I'll pay you $50, $75 an hour to come out here and help me walk through this property. That's an option, depending upon your experience level. The other thing that you may decide to do is get a home inspection. I got home inspections frequently when I first was investing. And then I realized the home inspections basically just said consult with a roofing professional, consult with a plumber, consult with this. But I would recommend that you do some home inspections on your first deals. And I would go with the home inspector for the second half and walk through the property with them so you have a really good feel with what you're dealing with. This is also ammunition for what I call the second negotiation, where you can go back to the seller again and say, here's all the problems we found. The seller is now aware of those problems and is required to disclose those problems to another buyer. And so therefore I'm saying reduce your price and I'd be happy to move forward with that. Home inspection, you're $500 to $750. This could range anywhere from doing it on a software to actually having somebody come out at $75 to $100 an hour. If you want to, you don't necessarily have to have both of these, but it's an option to think about. The next thing we're going to talk about is termite. A termite inspection, you're going to be probably $150. I mean, it depends on where you're at in the country, right? How far they drive. And a termite inspection is something you're going to have to come out of pocket for as well. And then what you'd have to come out of pocket for after that is any additional inspections. Let's say that when you go through, the home inspector says we need an engineer to come look at that, you would have to pay for that engineer. See, when you're buying the property, the seller makes the accommodations for you to get inside the property, see the property. You have to do all the inspections on your dime. So you're paying for whatever inspections you want to have done to that property, you're responsible for, and it's your cost regardless if you buy the property or not. So those are the things. So any additional inspections that may come up. Now, there's not always additional inspections. Sometimes there's something where you want to see, but this is to protect yourself, to make sure you know what you're getting and what you're buying. From that point, once it's past those things, the next thing that you'd have to come up with is just the money to close on the property, depending upon what type of a deal that it is. So any funds that you'd have to have for closing would be next, and that would be part of the closing, and that would actually happen when you close on the property. So prior to the time that you are buying the property, you're going to need earnest money. You may need money for valuing desktop. You may need funds for an appraisal, which is going to range $400 to $750. You may need money for a home inspection or some advice from a contractor, and then you're going to need a termite inspection. So if we're saying all in all here, you can do it for a lot less, right? So I'd say, let's just say $1,000 for earnest money. Let's say $600 for an appraisal. Let's say a home inspection of $500, $2,000, maybe another $150 for a termite inspection, $2,200. So, call it $2,000 to $3,000 is probably a good estimate of what you need. Now, keep in mind, the earnest money is going to get credited to what you have to bring as a down payment. So if you had to bring a down payment of $5,000, but you already put $1,000 earnest money, now you're only going to have to bring $4,000 because that $1,000 is going to credit towards the money that you're supposed to be bringing. So that's kind of the money side of this, of some things that you're going to need prior to the time. Now, this is all optional. You don't have to get a home inspection. I think you probably should on your first deal. You are going to have to get some sort of an appraisal or value, so you've got to kind of plan on that. You are going to have to come up with some type of earnest money, but that could be as low as $100 or $50, right? So, and then you are going to have to do termite in almost all cases. So if your appraisal's $500 or $600, your earnest money is $100, that's $850, you know, so you could be into this as little as $850 with the appraisal. Now, keep in mind though, I'm not going to order an appraisal until I'm done with my inspections. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my earnest money down, and then I'm going to do my inspections. So once I clear my inspections, then I can order the termite and wait for that, or I can order the appraisal and wait for that, and then order the termite. So I'm only spending the money if it passes those phases. If I don't pass the inspections, I'm not going to spend the money on the appraisal. So that's important. And if the deal doesn't go through and you've written your contract correctly, the earnest money comes back to you if you cancel within the deadlines and have done that correctly. But any money you've paid for appraisals or termite or any additional inspections is going to be a sunk cost. All right, so the next question you're probably asking is, how much am I going to have to spend in marketing? With everything that I do, I like to have a very low cost option, very little money, if any. And then I like to have something that is going to be the fastest, okay? Fastest option, which is going to require some money. The idea here is, if you're willing to spend some money, you're saving time and you're speeding up the process. But if you don't have money to spend, like I didn't have money to spend, then it is low cost and you're gonna have to put more time into that, okay? So it's sweat equity, labor, that type of stuff. If I have no money to invest, okay, what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be doing driving for dollars. I'm going to be doing skip trace and phone calls. There is a cost to skip trace. It's like 12 cents. So it's not crazy, but I'm not gonna be able to do postcards. But I'm gonna do driving for dollars. I'm gonna skip trace and I'm gonna make phone calls, and I'm also gonna send emails, okay? Also, those are for off market. If they're on market, I'm gonna do what's called MLS Sniper, and I'm not gonna spend any money whatsoever. And then I'm gonna work directly with the agent using my Investor's Edge software to determine the deals I should be going after and making offers on those specific properties. Okay, now, if I'm going off market properties, the fastest, this is gonna be postcards. This is gonna be hiring callers, people that are gonna make calls for me. This is going to be the driving for dollars, or hiring people to do driving for dollars. I'm basically spending more money to have it take less time. And so as we come into the, like, how do I find a deal within 30 days? If you spend a butt ton of money, you're gonna have a higher likelihood of finding a deal. But my concern with that is you're not gonna learn through the process as much. So I'd rather have you do a little at a time and learn, and then be able to get your next deal. Remember, the first deal is the hardest. Your second deal is a little easier, third deal is a little easier, your fourth deal is a little easier, fifth, sixth, it just gets easier as you go. So I like there to be what I call experiential learning, which means if you go out and do postcards and spend $10,000 and you mess up on the postcard, or you do something stupid, like put the wrong phone number on or something like that, that's a lot of money to waste. But if I do that with 100 postcards, and then I figured out, then it's like, oh, I fixed that. So doing some things along the way without going all the way crazy on that will give experiential learning as you go through the process. And I think that's really important to do.